Today we're going to go over the likes and dislikes of Doha, Qatar. I got a pretty good understanding of what it's like over there. I've lived there for 10 years. I've got a good understanding of the summertime versus the wintertime, the people, the prices, etc. So we're going to get into the likes of Doha, Qatar first. And the very first thing that comes to mind is very cheap gasoline, almost free. You can fill your tank up, drive anywhere you'd like. Doesn't cost you much of anything. It's probably cheaper than water, which in this day and age is unbelievable. But that's number one thing that I can think of right at the top of my head is that. Next thing is no taxes on purchases. Unlike the United States and most Western countries, you'll get taxed. There's no taxes. The price is what it is. So you go to the register, you pay that fee of however much it costs, and that's what it is, which is really nice. So that's another thing that I really like about it is zero tax. Another thing is it's very modern city, brand new. It's recently just been built within the last 20 years. So you got modern architecture, clean roads, no potholes pretty much. It's just a really nice place to drive, especially downtown area, LaSalle area, the Doha Pearl, which is an island outside of Doha itself, just right on the end there. It's very nice to drive and explore and see the architecture. Another thing is there's large, grand malls everywhere. So even though it's hot outside, 130 degrees Fahrenheit, 100% humidity, you have a place to go. And that's pretty much what you can do. You can go to the hotels, eat breakfast, drive around, go to the malls, do some shopping, go to Sea Line Beach, check that out in the early mornings while it's still a little cool, and sit by the pool and get massages and stuff like that. So it's really nice luxury environment. Speaking of hotels, there's large 5-star hotels everywhere. Unlike America, where there's a lot of 3-star hotels and then a few 5-star hotels, you can get 5-star hotels at a pretty decent rate. So that's one thing that's pretty cool about it. It is an international airport hub. They could just recently built a brand new international airport. It's got a lot of awards that has been done. So enjoy the airport. There's a lot of things to do with inside the airport. If you're just traveling through or going to stay, it'll be a nice place to be. It is a multinational workforce. That could be a good thing, that could be a bad thing, depending on each person. But in general, the multinational workforce is pretty nice to see. Speaking on the multinational workforce, it is a singles playground. Most people there are single. So if you are in a dating scene, just be careful. But there are a lot of singles to pick from. And that goes for the guys and the girls. A variety of foods, Western, Asian, Mediterranean foods. They're all over the place. You won't have a problem finding something that you like, depending on what country you come from. There's Indian food as well. So it's just a wide variety. Arabic food, of course, Mediterranean. So you have a large variety of different foods. So you shouldn't have a problem eating what you like to eat or what you're accustomed to. Like I said before, there's a lot of nice beaches, Sea Line Beach Resort. Um, you can go down there and do some four-wheeling, sit and eat breakfast in the hotel that's down there. There's a pool, play frisbee, do all kinds of stuff that you normally do at a lot of other beach places. Um, so it's a nice little getaway from the hustle and bustle of Doha, Qatar. All right. Uh, Downtown, there's a strip called the Corniche. I used to go run on the Corniche, which is it's a it's a walkway that goes from basically one side of downtown to the other, and you'll see a Sheraton hotel at the very end. I used to run. It goes in a circular area, and you'll see the downtown on the left-hand side as you go running, or jogging, or whatever you want to call it, or walking, or something in that general realm. So it's nice to be able to walk that path or do some jogging in the mornings. It's just a really nice environment. You'll see there's an embankment off the walkway where some people do some picnicking. There are palm trees alongside that coastline, and it's a pretty cool environment to see. Housing is generally paid per company. If you had to pay it, it would be very, very expensive. There are companies that require you to get your own, but most places do pay for the housing themselves. So accommodation it can be expensive if you're doing it yourself, but if the company is, you'll be pretty much set. Another thing, if you get sick, low cost healthcare is everywhere over there. I don't know if the government pays for some of that, but most of the healthcare is very cheap. It's not going to break your wallet, and you basically don't need health insurance like in the West. You can go there and you're going to be able to pay for whatever services you need, unless it's maybe major surgeries or something like that. But they do have a government hospital that would be able to pay for that if you needed it without health insurance. So that's a pretty cool perspective if you're looking for the healthcare, what it's like and like that. Another thing, of course, is mild winters. Very, very mild winters. It'll seem cold from going from 130 degrees Fahrenheit to 40 degrees or 38 degrees, something like that. It'll seem extreme cold, especially when the wind picks up. But in general, it's really not. It's just the temperature fluctuation is made it seem that way. Another thing that's pretty cool is you're going to see luxury cars everywhere. Lamborghinis, Bentleys, Ferraris, you name it. You're going to see Rolls Royces are everywhere. It's an oil-rich country, so you're going to see all of this stuff on a daily basis, and you don't even think twice about it. So it's pretty cool. Another thing that's nice is low crime. If you're coming from Chicago, going to Doha, Qatar, you're going to see a big difference. You're going to be able to, for the most part, leave your doors open or unlocked, and it's going to be low crime. I wouldn't personally leave my stuff unlocked, but because there are third country nationals living there, but it's a high penalty if you get caught stealing. So in general, you're pretty safe. All right, so now we're going to go to the dislikes of Doha, Qatar. The first dislike would be expensive taxi fares. It didn't used to be when I first got there around 2004, 2005. It was very cheap. You could go 10 reals, which is probably $3 maybe. I can't remember the exchange rate, but it's very cheap. And you could go anywhere in the city. Then they got a different taxis. And once they did that, they got different people running it. And sometimes they won't turn on the meter. they just won't, they refuse to take you. So it turned into a great system to this system that is going to rip you off, and they're going to rip you off. So just be cautious about that. If you're going there for a vacation, you're just like every other countries that are third world, they're going to do the same thing because they came from those countries. I'm not saying everybody. Most of them will probably do the right thing, but I've seen a large number of them that will try to overcharge you or screw you over. Another thing, there's curfews set on female workers. So not all of the companies will do it, or sponsors, but there are a high number of them that'll put a curfew on those girls. It'll be, you have to go in at 9 o'clock p.m. or 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, and you can't go outside past those hours. I don't know exactly why that is, but that's what the sponsor dictates, and you have to abide by it or you get kicked out of the country. So that's something to be aware if you're looking to work there versus visit. If you're visiting, you're going to be just fine and you're not going to have an issue. If you find somebody that you want to marry, you have to get permission from their sponsors. I know this had happened to me before in the past, and it was kind of a pain in the butt, and the individual ended up quitting and going back to the Philippines, and then we got married later. So that could be something you might want to look to. If you're going there and you find somebody, that could happen. Another thing is most companies, if you're working in the local workforce versus the United States government, is most companies will hold your passport. So if you're thinking you can come and go freely at will, that you're sorely mistaken. You're not going to be able to do that. They're going to hold your passport. You have to get an exit permit to leave the country. They're basically doing a background check to make sure that you haven't done anything illegal, or the sponsor doesn't want you to leave. And if that's the case, then you just can't leave. So that's something that's a big deal if you're considering about moving there for work. It generally doesn't happen to Westerners, but it can happen. So just be aware and be cautious of that. Touching base on exit permits. So they have the scanning machines. You go coming in and going out. You get your facial recognition scanned, and it'll pretty much pop up if you're good or if you're not good, or what the case may be. So it's very, very stringent on coming in and out of that country. Another thing that I noticed before I departed that country is clothing is very, very expensive. I know everything's imported into that country, but it got to a point where it was so expensive that I would wait to go on vacation to go shopping and then come back because it was just so ungodly expensive. It was insane. So just be aware of that. If you're going to sponsor your family, it's a very hard, difficult process. It changes every 5 minutes. And dealing with the government, the local government, I don't know about now, it could have changed, but since 2010 or 2012, it was very, very hard and difficult to get a sponsorship taken care of. So just be aware in that realm as well. Another thing is sometimes, I don't know if it's the locals, probably not, but some of the Arabic ladies or presumed to be Arabic ladies won't let other Western ladies get into the elevators with them or Filipinas in that matter, or third country nationals. I don't know why that is, but I've seen it multiple times where they tell them to get out and then they have to take the elevator separately. I don't know what the case was, but I've seen it happen multiple times. So that's something to think about, along with driving. And let's say you're going into a mall and there's a walkway to go to the mall. Don't think like in the West that the car's going to stop to let you go, because it's not. I've seen people get hit going through the crosswalk, and a fast car, because they love to drive fast, they hit them. So that stuff can happen. So that's just something else to be aware of. If you see a car coming, stop, let them go, and walk across. Another thing that you have to think about is if you do find a significant other, be aware of public display of affection. Unless you're married, and even married, it's frowned upon to do public display of affection as well. So holding hands you might get by with, but anything other than that, just be careful, because they can arrest you and take you away, which probably would ruin your fun, right? So just be careful of what you do about holding hands or putting your arm around the waist, or especially kissing in public, because you may end up in jail and you may not like that too much. If you're working on the local economy, just be aware that you may not get paid on time. Inshallah, you might not. More times than none, you probably won't. It could be a week later. I've seen some people not get paid for a month later. They generally do get paid, but it's a long time later. Sometimes it happens on time, but it's whenever they get around to paying you, they'll pay you. So if you have bills that are happening on a monthly basis, you got to be prepared in advance to save money back to make sure those bills get paid. But it can happen. Just depends what sponsor you get and who you work for. Some are very good and they'll pay you on time, every time, on the same day. But like I said, it depends who you're working for and who the sponsor is and who they've hired to make that pay. That's a very real thing that does happen. So just be aware of that. Okay, when it comes to Ramadan, there's roughly a month out of every year that Ramadan happens. Don't drink, don't chew gum in public until after sundown, and don't drink after or eat after sunrise. If you do, you could go to jail, and that'll kind of ruin everything for you as well. It's their custom. Abide by their rules, whether you like it or not. If you choose to live there or work there, it's their country, and you got to respect it. So that's something you have to think about. Now, you can eat after the sundown. It's generally they'll have a cannon it'll set off, and once they set the cannon off, it'll just go a big boom, and that's a signal. It'll echo throughout that Doha Qatar, if they still do that. I believe they do. That it's time that you can go eat. So you go and do your thing and eat as you'd like. All right. Another thing is wages are based on your nationality. So you could be doing the very same job. Let's say I'm working in the tech sector, and as an American, I'd be getting paid a rate of, let's say, hypothetically, $40 an hour, which won't be per hour, but let's say it's $40 an hour, and then you have a Nepalese doing the same job, they may be getting paid $2 an hour. So there's a huge difference. Like I said, it's hypothetically because they don't usually do per hour. It's usually per month or something like that. But it's a huge difference in the rate of pay. So if you're an American or a Western nation, you generally get paid more than a third country national, which, I guess the economies in each country are a little bit different. So they abide by what that salary would be per country you came from. But that's just something to be aware of. Another thing, if you're a female, it could be very dangerous to be walking at night if you didn't have a curfew. I've seen ladies get their butt grabbed by third country nationals or other, I'm not sure what nationality they were, but I've seen it happen multiple times. And it's just something that you have to be aware of. I think you should be aware of that anywhere you go, but I've seen that happen, and they follow the girl all the way to their accommodation. So it does happen. Just be aware of that. Always have multiple people that you walk with, even though it's supposed to be a super safe country, which in general it is. It does happen, and it probably goes unreported. And that's why the statistics show that it's a very safe country, but it does happen. So it's something that you might want to be aware of. If you are having to do your own accommodation yourself and the company's not paying for it, it is very costly. It'll be New York expensive, if you know what I mean. It means it's going to be very, very expensive. So if they're giving you a straight salary and you have to pay for your accommodation, you better look into that before moving there. It is a low desert, 100% humidity during the summer. It's very hot. So you just step outside and you're going to feel like you're in a sauna, literally a sauna. So it goes from that to cold during the winter. So just be aware of how hot it gets. It's going to be sauna-like. If you don't like that weather, then you might not want to go there. And one last thing is about the traffic. The traffic is really ungodly. They drive very fast. It's bumper to bumper. I've had third country nationals hit me in my car while I'm stopped and then go out and say, "Why did you hit me?" And you're like, "I was parked. How did I hit you?" So just be aware of stuff like that. It's very, 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 very busy. It may take you to get from what would normally in a Western country take 15, 20 minutes to get somewhere. It's going to take 2 hours to get somewhere. Didn't used to be that way when I first got there, but when I left, that's the way it is. And today it should still be the same way because there's just an influx of so many people and so many helpers and so many workers that just kind of is what takes place. But there you have it, guys. I've been waiting to do a review and let you guys know. Since I have been there for 10 years, there's a lot of stuff that I may have missed. And in general, it's a really good, fun place. I have very fond memories of the place. I really like it. I would go back to visit, maybe not to live or work, but it's a very, very nice place to check out. At the very minimum, go there on vacation, check it out, and I believe you guys will enjoy it as much as I did for the last 10 years. Anyway, take care. Hope you've enjoyed the show. I hope it was informational for you. Take care. and we'll see you next time around.